Happy fall, everyone. This is Leslie Pope, the senior designer at the Beadsmith, the other half of Team Leslie. And I am going to be demoing the Kayano bracelet today. And it has one of my favorite beads in it, Nibbits. I think it's a very underutilized, like, 2-hole bead. We have, so I know everybody is probably a little overloaded on the 2-hole beads, but I think the Nibbits are really nice. And this pattern will be available in the I Love Beads section of the Beadsmith page. It's beadsmith.com /I Love Beads. And this pattern is from Matubo, one of our distributors. They have very nice patterns. And this is what I call a rinse and repeat bracelet. Doesn't take away from the fact that it's very elegant. It's very soft to wear. And very easy to make, which is something I like. So this is one colorway I did. And here's the second colorway that I did. And I think I'm going to do the second. I'm going to do today's demonstration with this one. And, but I'm going to make a short version. And I'm going to use the partially finished bracelet ends, which Team Leslie Rogalski and I love the partially finished bracelet ends. You can make things a lot faster. Things are way more adjustable. And we just love them. I think we've done quite a few projects with the partially finished bracelet ends. So that tells you what we think of them. So without further ado, I'm going to get started and move these out of the way. Show you the beads on my board here. So this could be a good stash buster, because even with the if you do the full length bracelet, you still do not need a lot of materials. You've got your size 8s, your size 6 hex cut or 3 cut, which gives you a little bit of a facet. I love them. Your 8 O's. Your Nibbits, of course, I love the Nibbits, 2-hole bead, and your Ginkos. And as always, our first tip is, when using 2-hole or any other multi-hole bead, make sure that all of your holes are clear before you start stitching, because you don't want to get halfway around a project and go to your second hole and then your hole is blocked. So I tested all of these before I put them on my mat, so I won't have that problem while I'm trying to demo on Facebook Live. And please bear with me. This is my first solo Facebook Live. So since we're in quarantine, so if I miss something, let me know. And Leslie Rogalski is fielding questions, and we should get started. The only other thing I forgot is I'm using a 6-pound fire line. I'm using the black satin. I love the black satin. It really kind of blends in very well, as long as you're not using anything too light. I have my size 11 beading needle. And if you're going to finish the full length bracelet, you need 2 5mm to 6mm jump rings, and your clasp of choice. This one I just did the lobster claw because it fits so perfectly that I didn't need to put something bigger on there, like a toggle. So I'm sorry I forgot that. But like I said, it's a rinse and repeat bracelet. So you have your start and your middle, and then your ending. And I'm only going to do 6 Ginkgos because I'm going to add the partially finished bracelet end. So the only thing you have to remember is that they list the sides of the ginkgo as the outside, which is the curve, and the inside, which is the tip. So each time you add a ginkgo, you're going to be adding a ginkgo through the curve towards the tip. So let's get started. So to begin, you put on your ginkgo, you pick up 2 Nibbits front and the narrow point there, and an 11 and a 6 and an 11, and 2 more Nibbits. All right, we're going to slide those down to your ginkgo and sew through the second hole of the ginkgo from the tip to the curve. There we go. So that's nice and flush. And you're going to start what I'm going to call the over loop, which is where you're going to add your jump ring when you're done. So you pick up an 8 and 2 11s, right? And another 8. Slide those down because you're going to make an overhand knot. I've got lots of comments coming up on my phone. Hi, everybody. Okay, there we go with our overhand knot. I'm going to do a second one just to make sure things don't slide. And that is basically the beginning of the bracelet. And I have a knot in my thread over here. Hold on a second, everybody. Okay, so to start, to go down the side of the bracelet, you're going to sew through the beads that you just put over the curve of the ginkgo. Okay, and then you're going to pick up 2 more 8s and sew through both of the Nibbits, because we are going to now start going down the side of the bracelet and adding the beads. So here's going to be the rinse and repeat. Here's the start of the rinse and repeat. You're going to pick up a 6 and a ginkgo through the curve. All right. Your 2 Nibbits, your 11, your 6 and your 11, whoops, and 2 more ginkgos through the narrow tips there. Come on, there we go. And slide those down. Sew through the second hole of the ginkgo. I think 2 whole beads makes creating this stuff so much faster. Okay, so then we're going to go up the second side. So you're going to pick up another 6 and sew through the 2 ginkgos that you previously added. And I think I'm going to snip off this tail so it'll get out of my way. And then you have to add your 2 8s on the other side. So you're going to mirror the first side that you did and sew through all those beads across the... Hopefully I'm not being too disconcerting for people. I turn my beadwork in the direction that I'm going because it just makes it so much easier for me to see. Okay, so now we're back where we started. We're going to go through the 2 Nibbits, and the 6. And to connect the Ginkos, you're going to pick up an 8. Not connect the Ginkos, connect the parts together and sew through the 2 Nibbits that you added in your first round. Oops, what did I do? I caught some thread. There we go. Caught some thread there. So that is the basis of your bracelet. And so, like I said, after that, you do your rinse and repeat. So you pick up your 6, your next Ginkgo, your 2 Nibbits, your 11, your 6, your 11. There we go. 2 more Ginkgos. Not Ginkgos, Nibbits. Gee, I can't tell my beads apart. And that's it's not a good thing. And back through the Ginkgo, the real Ginkgo. Ta-da-ta-da. Snug them up. Your 6. And this time you're going to sew through the Nibbits, not the 6, because you're going to have to pick up an 8 so that you mirror the other side of the bracelet. Pick up my 8, and this time you sew through the 6, and then you're going to sew through the 11 and the 6 and the second 11, oops, and back through the third 6, because now you're going to go back down the side of the bracelet like you did in the first go round and connect your 2 sections with an 8. So we're going to go through the 8, both of the Nibbits, and the 6, and pick up your 8 and go through the 2 Nibbits that you just added, and that's the next section of your bracelet. So see, rinse and repeat. I'm going to do this one more time and then show you how to end it, unless people just want to keep listening to me talk, which I'm not quite sure about that. So your next Ginkgo and your 2 Nibbits. Okay, chasing beads around the board. Okay, 2 Nibbits, an 11, a 6, an 11, your 2 Nibbits, go through the open hole of your Ginkgo, snug everything up, pick up your 6, and go through the next 2 Nibbits. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to pick up our 8 because we want to mirror the other side of the bracelet. So through your 6 and your 11 and your 6 and the next 11 and the 6 on the other side, right? And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go down the side of the bracelet and add the little sections together. So I'm going to sew through the 8, and the 2 Nibbits and the 6, and pick up my 8, and here we go, the next 2 Nibbits. Okay, well, if people don't mind listening to me talk, I'm actually going to put the last Ginkgo one, since I said I did want to add the partially finished bracelet in. And when you're making a piece of beadwork with the partially finished bracelet ends, you have to make sure that you do enough of a piece of beadwork to go from wrist bone to wrist bone. Otherwise, you won't have enough ease to get the bracelet on, even with the partially finished bracelet in, because it has to go over the meat of your hand. So let me add the last Ginkgo, and then I'll show you how it's finished off. And you'll have the whole bracelet done. You see how fast I'm doing this, right? So here we go. 2 Nibbits. And I am definitely going to have to find more projects with Nibbits in them. I really do like the Nibbits. So your 11, your 6, your 11, your next 2 Nibbits. Sew through the open hole of your Ginkgo. Pick up your 6. Sew through the previous 2 Nibbits. Okay, and pick up your 8 to mirror the other side of your bracelet. Sew through your 6. Hi, Janet. Then the 11 and the 6 and 11 over the curve of the Ginkgo, through the 6 and the 11 on the other side. There we go. And the 2 Nibbits. Oops. Can't see my hole there. There we go. And through the 6. Pick up your 8. And sew through the next 2 Nibbits. So we're going to say this is the end of the bracelet. And so you have to put a loop around the other end of the bracelet. So you have your bead loop for adding your jump rings in your closure. And it's just a tad different. It's just a couple of extra beads. So you're going to pick up 2 8s, 2 11s, and 2 more 8s. And you're going to sew through the 2 Nibbits. And pick up your last 8 to mirror the other side of your bracelet. And sew through. So when you get the directions, I'm not going to do this, but when you get the directions, they tell you to sew through all the outer holes and outer beads around the whole edge of your bracelet to firm your bracelet up. I think it also would give you a little bit of extra stability. I always say that thread is cheap, so use a lot of it. So if I was going to continue, I would sew all the way around, secure both of my threads, and then I have my piece that's long enough to put my partially finished bracelet on. So I would just add my jump ring and the ring of the partially finished bracelet into one side, and then repeat on the other side. And as you see, it just slides up and down. The bead on the bracelet end has a silicone gel inside so that it lets it slide, but then it stays snug when you cinch it up. And I normally put little dangles on the end. I didn't get to that today, but I think people have seen enough of my stuff where I put little dangles or extra pieces of chain. So that is the abbreviated version of the Kayano bracelet, Kayano, courtesy of Matubo, with Ginkos, Nibbits, 3-cut 6/0, 8s, and 11. A very fast, very elegant bracelet. It could be a great stash buster project, I'm sure. As always, you can find all the beads and findings and fire line and tools from your local bead reseller, and we hope that you do go to them and buy in this crazy time. We all need to support our our endeavors, our creative endeavors, and support our local stores. And with that, I hope everyone enjoyed my presentation. Be well, keep beading, and remember, we love beads and we love you. Take care. Bye.